As filmmakers and cinematographers, we're always looking for ways to make our films stand out. Often that is based on subject matter, the story of a piece, and then style and technique, specifically your use of light, composition, focal lengths, and camera movement. But we are also looking for tools to add a unique look to our projects. But with so many cameras all looking very similar these days, that's getting more and more difficult. But one area that can have drastic implications on your final image is lens choice. Like cameras, most lenses manufactured these days are also all starting to look the same because they're all aiming for the same thing, which is technical perfection, the sharpest, most detailed image with the fewest imperfections as possible. But that often results in a pretty stale and characterless image. It is one of the main reasons that people have started using vintage lenses more and more, like the Zeiss Contax or the classic Helios 44. But there is one modern lens that has incredible visual characteristics that gives your footage a unique and dreamy look without any of the drawbacks of a vintage lens. And yet, very few people are using it or talking about it. And that's this bad boy. The Voigtlander Heliar Classic 50mm. The Voigtlander was created to have a unique look, especially wide open. The lens has characteristics that Voigtlander calls picturesque and velvety. And that is accurate, actually. The lens creates this velvety look that is impossible to replicate with filters or other lenses. It is a look that comes from this lens and this lens alone. As you stop down the lens, you start to lose some of these visual characteristics and it behaves a bit more like any other modern lens, which is actually pretty useful if you have it on a job or getting a shot and don't want the very unique look that the lens can give you. I first started using the Voigtlander because I did a large selection of lens tests for a recent documentary where I served as DP, King Coal. King Coal is a hybrid documentary film combining observational scenes of coal culture and life in Appalachia with more surreal, magical realism elements to help us imagine a new future for the region. The director, Elaine, and I knew we wanted these scenes to feel different visually than the observational pieces. So I tested out a few different lenses to try and find a lens that would best represent the magical realism look that we were going for. We tested out the Helios 44, of course. We also tested one of my favorites, the Zeiss Contax 50mm f1.4, which I have used extensively over the years, including on this John Prine music video that has over 5 million views. We also tested out the Laowa f0.95, which was beautiful, but definitely very modern in its rendering. And finally, we tested out the Voigtlander Heliar Classic, and right away, I was struck by how visually distinct this lens felt. When shooting wide open, it truly rendered the world in a completely different way than I had seen before. It transports the viewer into a world slightly shifted, as if there's some magic nearby, or perhaps something is slightly off in the world, creating uncertainty. And this is what we want to do with film. We want to transport the viewer not only into other worlds, but also into other emotional states. And how something looks and feels is how we accomplish this visually. The Voigtlander has that transportable quality to it, putting the viewer into a different world and perhaps a different emotional state or frame of mind. So the Voigtlander Heliar Classic is an M-mount lens, which means it's made for Leica's M-mount rangefinders. But because of the flange distance of the M-mount, you can put it on almost any mirrorless mount with a small adapter. So right here I have a M to RF adapter, and we've also used this on L-mount. So the adapter is just this small, so it doesn't add any heft to the lens, and you can stick it on any mirrorless mount. So as a all manual lens, this lens does not have any autofocus, and so you're going to be manually focusing this lens no matter what. Since it's a rangefinder lens, it actually has a pretty decent focus throw once you get to a pretty close focusing distance. But from infinity to 5 or 6 feet away, it's not that far. So using it for a film like King Coal was a little bit more difficult than you would have on a normal cinema lens that has a longer focus throw, but it's doable. And we did it many, many times. But like all M-mount lenses, especially even fast ones like f1.5 or f2, this lens is tiny. So you can use it on a gimbal, you can put it on a Canon C70, and you barely think it's there. I mean, it is just a beautiful, tiny little lens, adds almost no weight to your rig, and still gives you that incredible look. So what do you think? Is the look that the Voigtlander Heliar Classic creates something you can use for your own projects? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.